Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to play a fingerstyle arrangement of Let Me Down Slowly. So let's get into it. So we're in standard tuning and you need to put a capo on the 4th fret of your guitar. All the tabs for this lesson are available on my Patreon page. You can check out the link down below. So I've divided this song into 5 different parts. We have the intro, the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, and then we have the bridge. So let's start with the intro. It sounds like this. So the very first part sounds like this. So there you have an A minor chord. You're playing the 2nd fret of the D string, the 2nd fret of the G string, and the 1st fret of the B string. You also have the open A string and the open high E string. So you start by playing this. So there you start by plucking the A string and the B string together first, and then you play the G string. So you have this. And after that you have this part where you just play the B string and then the high E string and then the B string again. Like that. So you get this. And then you change to this chord. So that's actually a part of a G major chord. You just have to play the 3rd fret of the low E string, and you also have the open D string, G string and the B string. So you play this. You start by plucking the low E string and the B string together. The B string there is open. And then you play the G string again. And then you play the B string and then the G string again. Like that. So you get this. And right after that you have this part. So there you're actually playing a part of an E minor chord. But you're not playing anything on these 2 strings, so you don't need to hold on to these 2 notes. So you have this. You have the open low E string and the open B string together first. And then you play the G string. And then you have this. So there you play the open B string. Hammer on to the 1st fret and hammer on to the 3rd fret. Like that. So I'll play that part again really slow. And then you have this part. So right after you played the part on the E minor chord, you change to this chord, which is actually a part of an F major chord, but you don't need this note, so you just hold on to these 2. So you're playing the 1st fret of the low E string, and you're playing the 2nd fret of the G string and the 1st fret of the B string, and you have this. So you start by plucking the low E string and the B string together, and then you play this. So there you're playing the G string, then the B string, and then the G string again. So from the start you have this. So if you play the whole intro really slow, it sounds like this. After that you have the verse, which sounds like this. So the very first part sounds like this. So you start by playing the open A string, and then you play the open D string and hammer on onto the 2nd fret of the D string. So you have this. And after that you have this part, where you play the open D string and then the 3rd fret of the A string. So you end up with this. And after that you have this part. So there you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string and you plug that with the open D string. And then you play the open D string 3 more times. Like that. So if you play the last part really slow, it sounds like this. and the whole thing. And then you have this part. So you start by playing the open low E string first, then you play the D string and hammer on onto the 2nd fret. So you have this, and after that you have this part. So there you play the open D string and then the 3rd fret of the A string. And after that you have this part. So there you're playing the 1st fret of the low E string with the thumb along with the open D string. You plug them together. Then you play the D string again and hammer on onto the D string on the 2nd fret. And you play that note again. Like that. So the whole thing from the start sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So there you start by playing this. You play the open A string first, and then you play the open D string twice. And then you have this, where you play the open D string one more time, and then you play the 3rd fret of the A string. Like that. And right after that you have this. So there you change the chord to this, where you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string, and then you start by playing the low E string and the open D string together. And then you play the D string 3 more times. Like that. So far you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you play this. You play the open low E string once, and then you play the D string twice, which is open, and then you play the 3rd fret of the A string, and then you have this part. So there again you're holding the 1st fret of the low E string with the thumb, and you're plucking that with the open D string, and then you play the D string again and hammer on, and then you play that note again, the one on the 2nd fret of the D string. Like that. So from the start of this part, the whole thing sounds like this. One more time, really slow. So that's the whole verse. I'll play it once from the start. It sounds like this. After that we have the pre-chorus, which sounds like this. So this is the part where you start adding the percussion in the song. So I'll play the first bit. It sounds like this. So there I'm just holding on to the 2nd fret of the D string there. So you start by playing this. You play the note on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then you plug the A string and the G string together. Both of them are open. And then you play this note on the 2nd fret 2 times. Like that. And after that you have this part. I'll play it along with the previous part. So there you slap and you ring the G string and the D string with the slap with the index finger. So you're playing the G and D string with the index finger, and at the same time you're slapping. Like that. And then you play the D string 2 times. The note on the 2nd fret there. Like that. So the whole thing sounds like this. One more time, really slow. After that you have this part. So there you're just holding the 3rd fret of the low E string first, and you start by playing this. So you plug the low E string and the D string together first, the D string is open, and then you play the D string 2 more times, and then you play the D string with the slap. So you do this, and then you play the D string again and you hammer on onto the 2nd fret. So the whole thing sounds like this. So from the start you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you're just holding on to the 2nd fret of the D string, and you start by playing this, where you play the open low E string and the open G string together. And then you play this note 2 times. And then you slap and you ring the D string and the G string. And then you play this note again. So the whole thing sounds like this, really slow. And after that you have this part. So there again you're holding on to the 1st fret of the low E string with the thumb like that, and you have this. You plug the low E string, the 1st fret there, with the open D string first, and then you play the open D string 2 more times. And then the next time you play the open D string with the slap. And then you have this, where you plug the open D string and you hammer on onto the 2nd fret. Like that. So from the start you have this. After that you have this part. So there you play the open A string and the open G string together first, and then you play this note on the 2nd fret of the D string 2 times. And after that you ring the D and G string with the slap, and then you play this note again, the 2nd fret of the D string. And right after that you have this part. So there you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string with the open D string first, you plug them together, and then you play the D string 2 more times, and then you play the D string with the slap, and then you play the D string and hammer on onto the 2nd fret. One more time, really slow. So from the last chord you have this. And then you have this part. So right after you played this, the hammer on there, then you play this, where you have an E minor chord. So there you're plucking the open low E string, the 2nd fret of the D string, the open G string, and then the open B string. You pluck all of them together, and then slap, and then you change to an F major chord. So there you're playing the 1st fret of the low E string with the thumb, the 3rd fret of the D string, the 2nd fret of the G string, and the 1st fret of the B string. You plug the low E string, D string, G string, and the B string together, and then slap. So you have this. So if you play the last part again, it sounds like this. So that's the whole pre-chorus. I'll play it once. It sounds like this. After that we have the chorus. To make it easier to explain, I've divided it into two parts. I'm going to call it the chorus A and the chorus B. So let's start with the chorus A. It sounds like this. So here we start with this part. So there you have an A minor chord, and you start by plucking the first fret of the B string and then pulling off to the open string, like that. And after that you have this. So there you're plucking the B string again, but this time you're plucking it with the open A string. So you pluck the A and B string together and then pull off. And then you play just the pull off on the B string, like last time. So all together you have this. After that you have this. So there you're slapping and ringing the A minor chord. So you have the open A string, the second fret of the D string, the second fret of the G string, the first fret of the B string, and the open high E string. So first you ring the chord with a slap, and then you play the open high E string, and then you play the B string. So all together you get this. So if you play it from the start, you have this. And then you change to this chord. So there you change to this G major chord where you just hold the third fret of the low E string. So you play this. So there you're plucking the third fret of the low E string with the open B string, and then you just play the B string one more time, and then you slap and ring the chord. So from the start you get this. And then you have this part. So there you change to this E minor chord and you start by playing this, where you just play the G string which is open 2 times. And then you have this part. So there you start by playing the open low E string with the open B string first. And then you play just the B string. And then you have this. So there you play the open G string twice. And then you slap and ring the chord. And then you play the B string and then the G string in the end. So I'll play the whole thing once really slow. One more time. And then you have this part. So there you're playing the first fret of the low E string with the thumb and you plug that with the open B string. And then you play the second fret of the G string. Like that. So all together you have this. And in the end there you add the slap. So from the start of the chorus you have this. And then you just repeat this one more time. After that you have this part. I'll play it from the last chord there. So right after you played that part in the end, then you slap and ring the chord and you play this. So you slap and ring the chord and you hammer on onto the second fret of the G string. And then you bring in this note on the second fret of the D string and you play that. Like that. So you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you start by playing this. So there you have this chord where you're holding on to the 2nd fret of the D string and the 2nd fret of the G string. You start by playing this. So there you plug the open A string and the G string together. And then you play a hammer-on onto the 2nd fret of the G string. So you let go of this note and you play the open G string and hammer on onto the 2nd fret. And then you have this part. So there you slap and you ring this note. So you slap and you try to play this note on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then you play that same note once regularly again. One more time really slow. So if I play it from that previous chord, from that last chord change, you have this. And after that you have this part. So now you have the same chord, but there's a change in the bass note. So the bass note now goes to the 3rd fret of the low E string and you play this. So there you plug the 3rd fret of the low E string and the open G string together first. And then you hammer on onto the 2nd fret of the G string. And then you play this note on the 2nd fret of the D string. Like that. And then you do the same thing with the slap. So there you're ringing this chord with a slap and then you're hammering on. And then you're playing that note again. Like that. So far you have this. And then you have this part. So there you have the same idea, but now the bass note changes to the open low E string. So just like you played this the first time, with the open A string for the bass note, now you have to play the same thing with the open low E string as the bass note. So far you have this. And then you have this part. So that the bass note changes to the 1st fret of the low E string and you plug that, the low E string, with the open G string. And then you hammer on onto the 2nd fret of the G string. And then you play this note on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then you ring the chord with the slap. So far you have this. And then you just repeat the previous part. So that's the whole first part of the chorus, which I'm calling the chorus A. I'm going to play the whole thing once. It sounds like this. After this we have the second part of the chorus, which I'm calling the chorus B. So I'll play the entire chorus B part once, but I'll start from the chorus A so that you get to see the change from chorus A to chorus B. So it sounds like this. So there you start with this chord where you're playing the 2nd fret of the D string, the 2nd fret of the G string, and the 3rd fret of the B string. You start by playing this. So you plug the open A string once, and then you plug the rest of the chords, these 3 notes together, and then you ring the chord with the slap. and then you play the B string 2 times. And then you have this part. So there you're holding the 3rd fret of the low E string and the 3rd fret of the B string. You also have the open G string there. So you start by playing this, where you're plucking the low E string, the G string and the B string together. And then you play just the B string 2 times. And then you slap and ring the chord. And then you play just the G string. Like that. One more time, really slow. So from the start you have this. So there you're changing from this chord to the E minor chord. So now you're playing the 2nd fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the D string, and you're also holding the 3rd fret of the B string there. So now you have this. So there you start by plucking the low E string first, and then you pluck the rest of the chord, the D string, G string and the B string, and then you slap and ring the chord, and then you change this note to the 1st fret of the B string, and you just pluck the B string once. So far from the start you have this. And then you have this part. So there you're changing from the E minor chord to the F major chord. So this time you're just plucking the 1st fret of the low E string, which you're holding with the thumb, and you're plucking the 3rd fret of the B string together. And then you play the E string once. And then you change to the F major chord, where you're playing the 3rd fret of the D string, the 2nd fret of the G string and the 1st fret of the B string, and you slap and ring the chord. So the whole thing sounds like this. And after that the song goes into the pre-chorus, which is exactly the same. And after this pre-chorus, the song goes back into the chorus, where you just play the chorus A part. And after that you have the bridge. So the bridge section sounds like this. I'll play it from the end of the chorus A part into the bridge. So it goes like this. So right after you play the last bit of the chorus, that's where the bridge starts. So right after you played the last chord there, you bring in this note on the 1st fret of the B string, and then you ring the chord with the slap. And then you play this, where you bring in this note on the 3rd fret of the B string, you're playing that with your little finger. And then you play the open high E string. So altogether you have this. And then you change the chord to this. So there I'm playing the 1st fret of the high E string with the index finger. And I'm plucking that with the open A string. And then you let go of that note, so you have the open high E string. So far you have this. And then you ring the chord with a slap. Like that. So again you have this from the start. And then you have this part. So there you change the chord to this. Now you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string and the 3rd fret of the B string. And you start by playing this. You play the B string twice. And then you play the low E string, the 3rd fret there. And then you play the open G string. Like that. And after that you ring the chord with a slap. and then you play the bass note again on the 3rd fret. Like that. So far from the start we have this. And after that you have this part. So there I'm just playing an E minor chord, where I have the 2nd fret of the A string and the 2nd fret of the D string. So you plug the low E string, which is open, and you plug the D string, G string and the B string. G and B are open, like that, and then you slap, and then you have this. So there you have the 1st fret of the low E string, the 3rd fret of the D string, the 2nd fret of the G string, and the 1st fret of the B string. So when you pluck the chord first, you pluck it without this note, so you have the open B string. And then you hammer on onto the 1st fret of the B string and you add that note in, like that. And right after you played this, you go back to the start of this part and you just repeat the whole thing. And it repeats again. So you just have to play that part 4 times to get the bridge. So I'll play the entire bridge once. It sounds like this. And then the song goes back into the chorus. So after the bridge, the song goes back into the chorus A part, and after that the song ends. So that's the whole song. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped. All the tabs for this lesson are available on my Patreon page. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, then subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have any questions or requests for song tutorials, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.